they presume that what they continue to do is going to get them where they want to be. And not only that, it won't damage any more people in the family.
All those years of programming, we're keeping
Yeah,
up our walls, especially when we paid for it.
yeah, yeah.
Like, like I tell my son about this, I say 2 hours with 4 to 8 people here, it'll be like 3 years of psychology, going to a psychologist because it's so open.
Yeah.
And I tell him, none of us have the answer. We only have possibilities.
Hmm.
And each individual takes time to prepare themselves for what's possible.
Yes,
Mm,
absolutely.
great one.
But it's also, like Annette said, she went for the counseling, and that facilitated that preparation. She could make use of that space. Whereas other people either, as her ex-husband, no, he didn't need it. As if nobody needs expansion. Not realizing that that's what it is.
Not realizing the importance of changing.
Yeah.
Changing thoughts, emotions, and reactions.
And adaptations.
Yeah.
And
part
orientation.
Yes.
Sorry, Annette.
That's okay. I was going to say that too. Orientation. Because part of it was life changed so drastically, is getting used to this sudden change and then changing and adapting and orienting back into society, because we had COVID in between, and then orienting as a single individual back into society.
Often feels like some people just want things to stay the same, like they haven't realized life is in a constant flux. Everything is always in motion, so you got to move with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that's what this group helps us to do.
Mm-hmm.
Helps us be aware and observe the changes that are happening, and then allowing us to choose or not choose the orientation that we then want to go or not want to.
It's creating momentum. And then we choose what kind of momentum we want. Every time I say that word, I keep coming back to Nemo. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Doom, doom. Yeah, I don't know why. But that must be meditation, what she's doing. She's always present. No past, no future. Just now.
Mm.
the other thing too, over time, is I'm going to call it the evolution of gratitude.
Mm.
Because through the journey, growing up, yeah, you had a way of believing that you were grateful. And it's not until you really understand it and how encompassing it is in your body and the flow and the ease of it at all. It's not forced. That things change when you reach that higher level of gratitude. Because you don't even have to say, I'm grateful, because you're feeling it. You don't have to say it. You don't have to go around telling people about it.
Mm.
They can see it. They can feel it.
Mm.
Yeah. Shows up in your energy field.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Those have
And they
more
feel it because it.
impacts.
Sorry, Jess.
It's like when we see those demonstrations, like where we don't need the words, like those are the deep impacts that can have on people.
Yeah.
Like it's a different space because seeing it and experiencing it, witnessing it versus talking about it are two different things.
Mm.
Thank you, Allison.
Yeah. What I was going to point to just is that when we embody that experience of gratitude, the heart opens even more, right? And so your whole vibration switches. And people can feel that. And I was thinking earlier also, it's so interesting how the ego will so often collapse things in terms of that it locks things in. And when you lock those things in, you disconnect from the momentum. You disconnect from your own life force. And what I'm experiencing, what I realized a few months ago was when you don't take care of things at the time that they present, or at the time that you would best serve your own life by taking care of them, it catches up because it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And the older you get and the less you've paid attention, it is.
I think that if more counselors would approach things from the same point of view or perspective that we do, it would have a lot more people that were more introspective about themselves.
That's what I do when I'm talking with my son. I tell him I have no answers to life. I have a lot of possibilities. The answers is the choices you make, and I support whatever choice you make, good or bad. You gotta learn from experience. You can't learn from what I've done.
Mm.
I tell him the only difference between him and me is 32 years of experience.
Mm. Mm. I think one of the secrets, as it were, to good parenting is modeling, looking at things as they are. And I couldn't do that with my daughter. It's my one big regret. I was so scared of dying. Didn't want her to be left without what I considered I knew better. I mean, I laugh at myself in that, not at the situation.
Well, one's ego always knows what's best for us.
Mm.
I think I got the advantage by it took me 17 and a half years to get connected truly with my son. And then over the last 4 or 5 months, like I tell him, I feel like in those 5 months, we've talked more than he's done his entire life with the foster family. And he says, yeah, spooky, ain't it?
Mm. Mm.
Like I tell him, you got to be able to listen to the small stuff you have to talk about, or you won't be able to talk about the big things in your life.
I think that's so true, Hans. I think what's also true, Heinz, and you saying that about speaking about the small things. I mean, I guess what I'm doing now, circling back to what I was saying earlier, was when you don't speak to something or you don't see to it when it arises, it's much more difficult. When you leave it, because then there's so much more that you've got to unpack.
Yeah, if you don't talk about the small things will create layers.
Yeah, they do.
It's the same what you were talking about. When we don't do it to ourselves, we don't take care of the small things. We put on layers of excuses and layers of the next, layers of the next. But as soon as it's burst, we got to go through all those layers to actually get to the small thing to work through it.
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of seeing it for what it is in the moment. Reduces that residue buildup, that layer buildup.
Mm.
That's been my experience. Now there's still areas, right? There's piles that will collect, but it's not everywhere.
Mm.
Which then means that you can work on those piles rather than everything every day,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
That piles up, that layers up, scales up.
And the great thing about seeing those piles is that you all of a sudden you brought it into awareness. So you ended the layer building on the piles. It's the ignoring the piles that makes them build even taller.
Exactly.
And then you can actually noodle with them. And that's word. Noodling.
Yeah, we have some great words today, don't we?
Your word's been used a few times, Annette. Noodling.
Yeah, I like it. I like that word.
Hmm.
That and confluence. That's the two greatest words I've got here because I didn't know them.
Hmm. So nice when things bring expansion to one's world. Eh?
Yeah. And you get a word that actually hits the nail on the head on what you've been doing, but you don't know what to call it. You're just feeling to it, but no word.
Mm.
I enjoy how we dive into the words, sort of not disassemble them, but get get lots of different perspective on the same word.
It's giving form to formlessness.
Yeah.
What I was thinking now is in terms of looking at things as they are, you eliminate the need for dominance as well as, oh, it's gone. I had another one, it's gone. Sorry. Oh,
Also,
and for taking things personally.
also eliminate the doubt to it because you already focused on it, so you know what it is.
But you also, in that, you're also acknowledging, you're acknowledging the impermanence of something, even though it's present in that moment. If it's going to, or if your perception of it is going to stay true, you'll see the changes as it, from moment to moment, put it that way.
What does the word impermanence mean?
That nothing is fixed, right?
Oh,
Things are evolving all the time.
yeah.
And it's
And a
just whether
constant.
you allow yourself to be part of that involvement or not.
Yeah.
And that phrase of don't take it personally has been so helpful. And it is something that I certainly was introduced to in meditation, but somehow the wording was different. And the reception of it was just right. So I've been able to use it a lot more effectively.
I think that statement is also used as a weapon in a sense. because somebody will tell you not to take it personally when it should be your choice to not take it personally.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Since I'm not a big reader, I like to watch whatever I can find on YouTube. And the Four Agreements is actually a great way of creating a 1 hour and what is it, 2 or 3 minutes? A great explanation about the book. I really like that, and I really enjoyed that. Don't take it personally. You see somebody walking into you when you're carrying a cup of coffee and all your work papers in the other hand and knock everything out of your hand. It wasn't personally. He wanted to do that, but people get mad about it. And they showed the other way where you just say, "Oh, that's okay. Are you all right?" And see how much higher you raise your own vibration a minute. How much better you make the rest of the day.
It's interesting, your comment, Annette, because it, again, what does it point to? It points to something very essential.
In my experience, when I've heard it, it's usually a way of controlling the other person. In the sense that what you're feeling means nothing. Don't take it personally, but this is how it is, type of thing.
No, absolutely. But there's something, what I'm trying to get to is that, what is the mechanism that we have in doing that? That's what I was trying to get to. I can't get to it now. I'll think about it. Think.
In Annette's example, or from that perspective, it's a defense.
Yes.
And invalidating the other person.
Yes, it's the invalidation, which is what Annette said. So, yeah, it's amazing how quickly the ego can cycle, hey? Like it's so fast.
You can change thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think it's even quicker than that. I mean, it's split seconds.
They probably use that word on you. Hey, don't take this person. Do.
Yeah.
Lift gear. Take control. Let me enter. Whoa.
And I think the mechanism is somebody's doing it to you. Something, right? It's a version of giving power away.
And it may not be personal what they're doing, but by them saying it, you're not allowed to take it personal, and it can be personal to you. It's like if a big store is buying up a one-man company, of course the big store can say, don't take it personally, because they have lots of employments. But
Mm.
the one man store is only one man, so it's all personal to him.
Mm.
I don't think we can always see the shifting perspectives, because in reality, our scenery never changes from our perspective,
Mm.
Mm.
or the scenery is always changing. Mm. Mm. But it's as if we can't change it. When we can, we just like to attach to our perspectives.
So what I'm also thinking here is how much and how often we leave our intuition out. And our intuition is the one part of us that is guaranteed to lead to expansion. I've seen that sometimes with clients when I talk about that experience of being alone. And then I ask them if they can remember daydreaming as a child and what that made them feel like. And then I would say, that's the quickest way of not feeling alone.
Mm.
And it gets discounted in society as not meaningful, as having nothing to do with how we live our lives. And yet it has everything to do with how we live our lives.
It's one thing I never stopped doing, daydreaming.
Mm.
I really enjoy that, creating possibilities, if they aren't there, but just giving it out there and hoping that, well, now I'm giving the energy off, maybe it will happen.
Exactly. The best chance you give of anything happening ever.
Yeah. And I realized now that, well, I daydreamed a lot about being a dad, but, well, it only took 18 years before I get the possibility.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Life's timing ain't always the same as your time.
So my question to you, Heinz, is it took 18 years and you're there now. How does
Yeah.
that feel? Is it like you imagined it? How does it feel?
Oh, I'm like a kid at Christmas, counting down to the 27th of this month, because that's when he turns 18 and he gets to actually choose for himself. And he says, oh, I want that extra room you've got, and I want to move in there. And we'll talk about what he's asking me, if it's okay that he eats that. I said, you can eat whatever you want. You shouldn't compare your eating to mine. Of course, when I was younger, I ate a half horse. Now I only eat a quarter. So I'm telling him everything's okay. You gotta just be yourself. It's such a great experience. That I sometimes feel that all the things that have happened to me during my lifetime, that it was not for my sake. It was so I could prepare him. I haven't, like I told Pascal, I often feel like this lifetime I chose a vacation. I'm not gonna do anything big in this lifetime. Oh, I'm not gonna write books. I'm not gonna work with a lot of people. I'm gonna work one-on-one with people who I feel like working with. And my son tells me, well, you should be what's it called, a coach. I say, well, I could probably be a good coach, but I couldn't demand money for it. For telling people to love themselves, to make their own choices. Why should I get paid to tell people what they already know? I would feel so lousy taking money for telling people to be themselves.
I'll share this story with you on the heels of that. So when I got in South Africa, you have to go through oh God, what's the process? Anyway, you have to be chosen, as it were, if you want to go into medical school or into the programs that give you psychology registrations. So I'd gone, I decided that that's what I wanted to do, and I went anyway. So when I told my boss, because I was working at that point in research, that I was taking days off for the assessments, he said to me, "So you want to be a shrink?" And I said, "Yes." And he said to me, it's the same thing as becoming a prostitute. And I looked at him, obviously quite like shocked. And I said to him, "Is it that terrible?" And he said, "No, it's not, it doesn't have to be such a terrible life, but you've got to realize that that's what it is." And I mean, of course, I've never had anybody say that, before, but I got what he meant. It was exactly that, exchanging money for something that money shouldn't be part of shouldn't be part of that system. It's really interesting. And it just pointed to the thing of most people would, their refrain to that would be, well, everybody's got to make a living. True. So why are prostitutes, set so much on the edge of society? They've got to make a living just like anybody else.
Yeah. That's how I see politicians too.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
They're just the face. It's not like whatever they say will go, because they have to get it through the whole machinery, and it will often get voted down and everything. So whatever they promise you, well, it's just their opinion. And it may not even be their opinion after
Most of the time not. Yeah,
someone
most of
pays
the
them
time
to have a different opinion.
Exactly.
Well, thank you all. It's been a fruitful morning.
Yes. It's
You
woken
all
me
have
up
a pleasant
very
day.
well.
Yeah, me too.
Have a great Sunday, everybody.
Yeah.
Love and hugs.
Mm.
Yep.
Bye-bye.